we're going to be hearing from Matt, who is the energy manager at MVT. I don't know if that's your full time. Oh, carbon and energy manager. I can see it on the next slide. Let's go to that. There we go. So Matt is going to be leading on this Lunch and Learn, but I just do the introduction as we normally do. So this is just to update on our current sustainability teams. The exciting news is that we have just recruited into the Energy and Sustainability Manager post at UHBW. So hopefully they'll be joining us maybe from next month. So that will be great and help us kind of particularly progress our net zero objective. And then, as usual, just touching on why we're here and why these teams exist in terms of the climate crisis that we're currently in and the ecological crisis too, are major impacts on health, and they are in fact the largest kind of impact on health currently, and will be for some time to come, and especially if we don't do anything to mitigate against our impact on the environment. So that's why we're all here today. Just to pick up again that also if you would like to get in contact with the sustainability teams at either trust, those are some contact details for you. And we also both have a newsletter. MVT have a Twitter account, so do look that up. And we have a nature and wellbeing calendar competition, which is open for all staff across the whole of the integrated care system. So do please send in any of your photos when you're out and about in nature to sustainability@uhbw.nhs.uk. So I'm going to stop sharing now and hand over to Matt. Ooh,
thanks very much, Alex.
There we go.
Right, shall I share my screen? Hopefully that's worked. Can everyone see that okay?
Yeah, got that, thank you.
Right. Okay, thanks everyone. Yeah, as Alex said, I'm the carbon and energy manager at North Bristol Trust. So I spend my days worrying about how we're going to get all our buildings to zero carbon by 2030. We've had some recent successes with a £4.3 million grant we were given by the government to install insulation, solar panels, double glazing and some heat pumps. But this presentation today is about what people can do in their homes to hopefully save some money, save some carbon, and make your homes more comfortable. So please, if anyone's got any questions, just interrupt me because I don't think I'll be able to see hands go up. But if you'd like to, also, if you want to wait to the end of the presentation to ask questions, that's absolutely fine. And I'll do my best to answer them. So I thought I'd start off by just talking through the average house, which is what we're using. The average home is what we're using as the basis for all the following slides. So the average home has got, according to Ofgem, 2.4 people in it and uses just less than 3,000 kilowatt hours or units of electricity, but 12,000 units of gas. The cost for this electricity and gas is a bit tricky because of the price cap. If it was uncapped, we'd be paying 52 pence per kilowatt hour for electricity, and for gas it would be 15 pence. But the latest government price cap has dropped that to 30 pence and 8 pence for gas. So when you include the standing charge, that means that we should be paying roughly £2,000, just a bit more than, at the capped rate, and uncapped it would be over, approaching £4,000. So that's where we are. And then from a carbon because the electricity has been decarbonising pretty much every year, the amount of carbon that's released for every unit of electricity
Matt, I think we've lost you potentially, or we can't hear you at least.
Oh no. That's a pity.
Oh, you're back.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. You went a little bit kind of computerized. Oh, are you there?
Robotic. This
Oh.
is the things to come. Should we?
Great.
Should we going and hope for the best? Alex, do you think you can hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, I'm so sorry. This is
big silences, so I don't know if that's you being silent or not. Carry on and see how we go.
I'll just keep talking.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just keep talking. So if there are any silences, that's because the internet's not doing its job. Yes. So as I was saying, hopefully, I'm not sure where you've got up to, but just from a carbon perspective, the electricity grid has decarbonised every year and is expected to become fully zero carbon by 2032. So from a carbon perspective, if you're looking at this, the thing we really want to be focusing on is reducing our gas use in the home and at the hospital. But from a cost perspective, there's not much. Anyway, so the next parts of the presentation, I thought I'd go through zero cost, low cost, and then high cost options for saving energy, money, and carbon. So the first thing that I'd strongly suggest people look at is the controls of their heating. So in a normal home with radiators fed by a gas boiler, there's usually a range of controls. So the first and easiest one will be some kind of thermostat, which could be something like this unit in the bottom right hand corner, the picture in the bottom right hand corner. So anything we can do to turn that down to a lower value will save money.
Matt, just to interrupt. Sorry, we're still on the first slide. I don't know if you've changed them or not.
Oh dear. Yes, I am on to the next slide.
Okay.
I'm hoping it'll catch up. Frustrating that you can hear me by the sounds of things, but you can't see the slides.
We're good, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so there's only a minute or two delay.
Okay,
so as I said, this picture in the bottom right hand corner is a thermostat, so we want to be turning that down as low as we can put up with. The next thing to look at is if there are any time controls. You really want to be setting those time controls for your heating and or your if you've got a hot water tank, for when your hot water tank is being heated for as little time as possible. My mother-in-law had her hot water tank set to be heating 24/7, and when she dropped it to just being heated for an hour twice a day, which I think she could go lower again, it made a significant difference to the amount of oil she was using because she's on an oil boiler. So that's definitely something to look at, and make sure you watch out for the change in the clocks that happen twice a year. Most controllers are intelligent enough to be able to deal with that, but some of the more basic controllers won't be able to. So just try and get your times as little, as tight as you possibly can to when you absolutely need the heat, and keep adjusting it. So really get to know your controller and see if you can as I said, keep those times as tight as possible. The next thing to look at is on your radiators. Hopefully you'll have something that looks like this, and this is called a thermostatic radiator valve, or TRV, and that basically controls the temperature to a degree that room will come to. So while your heating is set to be on, how you have these thermostatic radiator valves set should dictate how hot that room gets. So a room that you don't use very often, you'd want to set down to a lower temperature. Bedrooms, you want to kind of set to a medium temperature. Lounges, dining rooms, a bit higher. And then if you have a thermostatic radiator valve in your bathroom, then you want that set higher still. But really, you know, again, like all these things, the lower you can have them, the more energy you'll save. I've moved on a slide. Hopefully you have too. So the next one to look at is a little bit more niche. So this is if you have a combi boiler. So that means you haven't got a hot water tank, and hot water from the taps is generated instantly as you use it. If you have one of those boilers, it's likely you have knobs on the front of your boiler that look something like this. If you do, on with a little radiator water that comes out of your radiators. Now, when it is -5 degrees outside, you want that to be as, you know, as high as you need it to be able to keep the building at the right temperature. But as soon as it starts to get a bit warmer, or, you know, before it gets to -5, so in early autumn and a kind of late spring, you don't need the water in the radiators to be anywhere near as hot. And if you can turn that down to a lower temperature, you will save significant amounts of energy. I can go into it if you want, with condensing of exhaust gases and heat recovery, but you'll get at least a 10% increase in energy if you can get this knob as low as you can tolerate. And the way I do it is I have it low, and then when get a bit cold, and I feel like we tweak it back down again until you turn the heating off. So that knob is a good way to save energy very easily. If you haven't got a combi boiler and your boiler is heating up a tank of water, adjusting this knob is a bit more, because that will also not only change the temperature in your radiators, it'll also change the temperature of your water tank. You want to be careful about that, because you don't want to get to the point where there's a risk of Legionella growing. So you need to keep your tank at a minimum temperature of, which is roughly 60 degrees. So adjusting this too much, if you have a hot water tank, is more tricky, and I wouldn't advise it unless you really know what you're doing. So, but if you've got a combi boiler, you don't have to worry about that. So that's where this knob comes in. So 2 zero cost measures. Another zero cost measure it's fairly straightforward. Do it you can to use a washing line rather than a tumble dryer. That can save you a significant amount of energy and carbon, but it's a fairly obvious thing to do. So now we're moving into low cost measures. So this is where you do have to spend a little bit of money possibly, and this is actually something I need to do. I'm very aware of. When I was writing this, I was thinking I need to do this, particularly around my taps, which is to install flow restrictors, just to reduce the flow rate out of taps where you're washing your hands, to save all these, and roughly speaking, it will cost £40 to replace one shower head and a few tap inserts, and that'll save you roughly the same amount of money a year. So definitely worth looking at. Something else we should all be doing, absolutely, we certainly won't very soon, is upgrading all your lights to LED. This will save a significant amount of money. With, it says here £126. I think that's a bit much. I think that's a bit out of date. I think replacing most of your lights in your house with significantly less than that. And like I said, you've got no choice, because the only lights on the market are LED lights. But don't feel that you need to use up your existing light bulbs before you replace them. That is not good for you, for your wallet, or for the planet. If you have an old tungsten filament light bulb, you really want to get it, and it's used very well LED, because the carbon emissions associated with using that tungsten filament light bulb or a halogen light bulb is far more than the carbon in making a new LED bulb. So don't feel like you should use them up. You really need to get them out. If you've got a compact fluorescent lamp, it's a bit more marginal. Probably not worth throwing it away until it's been used, purely from a cost perspective. But I am aware that people don't get on with the compact fluorescent so much. It's frustrating the turn on quite a low light and then they build up. Whereas LED lights, you turn them on and you get full output straight away. So it may be that you want to upgrade to LED lights from a comfort perspective. Another low-cost measure that hopefully everyone's aware of is loft insulation. This can make itself, but you can also get a company in to do it. What I think is interesting is this picture shows loft insulation being installed, but this is only really the first step. If this is what your loft looks like, you really want to be installing more insulation running the opposite way across the batten, across the rafters. The current regulations for a new build house would want 450 millimeters, so nearly half a meter of insulation in the loft, which is, you know, quite incredible, really. So, you know, if you've only got what looks like about 10 centimeters, 100 millimeters of loft insulation, you can definitely look to top that up. If you have a house built after about 1930 that has cavity walls, I'd strongly suggest, you definitely can't do this yourself, getting a company in to look at cavity wall insulation. Oh, there's a bit of a typo there, sorry. Should say cavity wall insulation there. They spray in a polystyrene, typically it's a polystyrene type foam with a glue, a PVA glue that will bind it together, and that fills up the gap in your wall and will make a big difference to the heat loss from your building, again contributing to saving gas. On the more DIY scale, you've got draft proofing, floors, windows, doors. This can make a very significant energy saving and make your house much more comfortable to live in, and definitely is a DIY type option. Now, moving into medium cost, and this is where things get a bit tricky, because purely from a operational energy and carbon perspective, upgrading inefficient white goods, TVs, other equipment like that, you know, is a sensible thing to do. But there is a significant amount of embodied carbon in the manufacturing of those TVs and fridges. And so really what I was trying to get at here is, if your TV has broken or fridge has, you know, has problems and you're looking to upgrade it with the most energy efficient version you can, will save you a significant amount of energy over the least efficient. Similar to the LED bulbs, it's getting to the point where you haven't really got much choice, because the only ones out on the market are more energy efficient. You know, when you get the chance, the most energy efficient version you can is definitely worth doing. Now we're getting into the high cost areas, and if you have the suitable roof space and permission to install on that roof space, installing solar panels is an excellent thing to do, particularly if you work from home. So you can use that electricity that's being generated by the solar panels in the middle of the day most efficiently, and the least amount of that electricity that's being generated is being sent off to the grid. You can, you know, this is a really sensible idea. That the cost of solar panels have really plummeted in the last few years, and you know, a 4 kilowatt array on a roof will mean that for most of the summer, at least during the day, you're not drawing any electricity off the grid. And if you can back that up with a battery, which will probably double the cost, but will more than double the return, that's another thing to be looked at. And finally, if you're really bothered about saving carbon, then the best, and you have the space and the inclination, I'd really recommend thinking about installing a heat pump, particularly if your gas boiler is at the end of its life. This will do, I calculated that this would save my house 3 times as much carbon as if we replaced our car with an electric car. So based purely on the mileage that we drive, but it is not going to have a good payback. So that, you know, it will take a long time for you to recoup your money that you will save through your energy bills. And, you know, as I said, you need space outside. You need, almost certainly you will need to replace some of your radiators with bigger or at least deeper radiators. But definitely something to consider if you really want to reduce your carbon footprint over and above your as the main priority, as opposed to saving, you know, just saving money. So that was my run through of options to save money and carbon in your house. Hopefully some of it was interesting, and hopefully you heard most of it. Very happy to take questions now, if anybody has any.
Hi Matt, thanks for that. I think we kind of got you intermittently, but enough to I think follow.
Oh dear. It's a lesson for me. I won't do these things from home again.
There's a message from Kerry in the chat about cavity wall insulation and whether anyone can recommend a company as she's looking at doing it. I would follow up on that as well, in that my house is on the energy performance certificate, it says cavity wall insulation presumed. Do you know like what that presumption is based on? So yeah, 2 cavity wall questions there.
I'm afraid my house is too old, so I haven't got cavities. So I had to pay something I didn't mention, which is another option, which is solid wall insulation. So I got external wall insulation put on my house. I'm afraid I don't have. Well, I say I don't have a recommendation for a company. We at North Bristol Trust installed cavity wall insulation very successfully. So they do domestic buildings. So they're called Warm Care. So you could try them. Warm Care Limited. They did a very good job of installing cavity wall insulation into North Bristol Trust's 1970s building. So I'd suggest to them. The assumed question, I can only assume that they've assumed you've got cavity wall insulation because of the age of your building, but it's a very easy thing to do to test it. If you are interested in cavity wall insulation, the first thing any installer will do is they'll come to your house, they'll drill a little hole in your wall, and they'll stick a little borescope camera inside, and they'll have a look to see one, how deep your cavity is, how thick it is, and whether there's any insulation in there already. And then you'll know. So it's a 15-minute operation, and you'll be able to tell cavity wall insulation or not. And they almost certainly do these surveys for free. So that's what I'd recommend.
Okay,
if that answers the questions.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of that presumption being based on when the houses were built, do you know approximately when cavity wall insulation started being introduced into houses?
Well, so it depends. The regulations didn't come in, and but there's a chance that more forward-thinking companies were installing in the 70s. So it's hard to tell, and you could have the situation where you've got a cavity that's been partially filled, so maybe a 10 centimeter deep cavity that's got 5 centimeters of insulation. So you could still top that up to being full. The other reason why your surveyor might have presumed you've got cavity wall insulation. Is the way you get the cavity wall insulation in is to drill a hole every meter. So sometimes you can look at a building and you can see the telltale dots on the outside, which would, they should be subtle, but if they're there, they're saying, you know, you've had cavity wall insulation installed.
Okay.
So yeah, so either the age, so if it's, yeah, kind of, if it's after the 90s, you can you'd almost be certain that there's cavity wall insulation. 70s to 90s, there's
Okay, that's cool.
it's unlikely,
Great.
but possible.
Yeah. Oh, I think I lost a little bit of you then. But yeah, I think that's good. I think, hang on a second. Hello. I think somebody's got their hand up. Let me see who that is. Oh, Rosalind. Hello, Ros.
Hi,
What's your
Alex.
question?
Yeah, thank you. I was just thinking, yeah, this is so helpful, and I partly work in staff support at UHBW, and just thinking about you know, the kind of financial strain that lots of staff are under at the moment, particularly like as we move into autumn, winter. I don't know if you already do this anyway, but it might just be really helpful to have like a bit of a fact sheet or something on some of these messages that staff, or like websites or resources that's kind of like widely available that staff can then access and have a look at, just as ways to help them, I guess, from like a financial like stress sort of point of view, but obviously it all links together, doesn't it? If there's anything that either you already have or maybe could be developed, just as an
That's
idea.
a great
Really.
idea. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, more than happy to. Yeah, I'll speak to the MBT head of sustainability, Megan, and Ned at UHBW, and see if we can get something pulled together. You're right that almost certainly there is something out there, but definitely could be worth updating.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, just to pick up on that as well, we have had people from the Centre for Sustainable Energy come in and do things with us before. So if you don't know, they're a Bristol-based organisation, and their website is fantastic, and they have loads more detail of all the things that Matt has touched on today. So I can definitely send you the link to that, Ros. But yeah, we could maybe put something into Newsbeat or onto our kind of SharePoint to signpost to them, because personally I'd say just go and look at them. You know, it wouldn't really be worth us kind of creating something else, because they've got fantastic resources there. I don't know if you know of any other places, Matt, but that would be my first point of call personally.
Yeah, they're a really fantastic resource. There's also, is it the Ofgem website has got some good resources. Yeah, there's a few places out there, but we could definitely list those on a fact sheet and
yeah,
make those
okay,
available.
Great.
That would be
Let's
amazing.
do that,
Thank
Matt.
you.
Thanks, Raz. Anyone else got any other questions? I'm just gonna share the link to them on here while we're at it. So you've all got it straight away. There we go. That's the Centre for Sustainable Healthcare. Sorry, Centre for Sustainable Energy in the link. But yeah, I'll get that into a resource. Talk to Matt about that. But yeah, I think unless we've got any other questions, I think we can wrap it up. Thanks all for coming. It's really great to see you all. I hope you've had some useful advice today. And we'll see you all next month, hopefully. Have a good week.
Brilliant. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your patience with my poor internet. Won't make this mistake again.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.